This is your Daily 5 for Tuesday, August 18th, 2026. In an unusual set of circumstances, I have finished two fairly long games within a few weeks of each other. I reviewed my kind of final review of Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl, last week? And just a few days ago, I finished the main campaign for the 2024 game Star Wars Outlaws, which is a game that I remember when it came out, I didn't hear anything particularly bad about it, but I think that there were some technical issues around it, which, okay, what modern game doesn't have that anymore? This is one of my big arguments on don't play games when they first come out because they're almost never actually finished. But I kind of just, I think I was burned out really badly on Star Wars because of all the sequel stuff and some of the Disney Plus stuff. And I just was like, okay, I'll get around to this. I didn't really care that the protagonist was a woman. I know that's a thing for some people, but I don't know. I'm a grown-up, so that doesn't bother me. But anyway, it went on sale. And I know I've mentioned this at least in one or two of the main shows because I was really gushing about the sound effects and how amazingly well they recaptured the Star Wars atmosphere in the game. And I know I did at least 1.5 that was impressions on it. But now that I've finished it, and I always say the same thing, which is, all right, the caveat here is as long as they don't blow the ending, I think I'm going to end up liking this game a lot. And I'm happy to tell you, Star Wars Outlaws did not blow the ending. In fact, I will say with absolute seriousness, and I would defend this fairly easily, that Star Wars Outlaws is the best, sorry, I should say it this way. Star Wars Outlaws is a better Star Wars experience, in my opinion, than the last 6 mainline movies, meaning the prequel trilogy and the sequel trilogy. I leave out things like Solo, which I liked, and Rogue One, which I have no desire to watch, but I believe people when they say it's very good. But as far as the mainline movies, which have all been terrible to embarrassingly awful, which is not a huge spectrum, but it's all in that same road. You have to start grading on a curve when you're in the muck that badly. This game blows them all out of the water as far as feeling like Star Wars to me. And just in every possible way, this is one of the most well-crafted games I've played in a while. Not a surprise because it is a Star Wars license, and so you get access to, I'm sure, a lot of really talented artists, a magnificent sound library. The music in this game is shockingly amazing. I mean, because you're going to always get held up against John Williams. And so you just expect that whatever it is, it's either going to be copying or it's going to be a far lesser thing because it's John Williams. But no, this game manages to have a musical score that lets you know right away that it's Star Wars without just feeling like an inferior version of something you've heard before. It has its own identity. It is a really just amazing game. I can't state it any other way because when I got to the ending, I was actually emotionally reacting to the ending of this game, which the character and the circumstances around the character all felt like what I remember the old Star Wars movies feeling like. Even something like Shadows of the Empire, which you may not remember, especially if you're not young enough. It came out in the Nintendo 64 era, I'm pretty sure. That was another attempt to do kind of an expanded universe multimedia thing. The video game was very well received at the time. I mean, I remember everybody loving Shadows of the Empire. Some of the stuff outside the video game, a little different. But this has got to be, to my mind, the best thing that Star Wars has had video game-wise since probably Dark Forces and Shadows of the Empire. So honestly, I think a lot of people like me probably passed on this game because when it came out, the reviews they weren't necessarily bad, but they were kind of like, forgettable. And then it just sort of faded out and got forgotten with Jedi Survivor and those games that followed that seemed to review better. But, I mean, I haven't played the Jedi Survivor games. They may be just as good, but I'll tell you right now, if you were like me, and you just went, Star Wars, who cares anymore? It's not for me anymore. And you just kind of let this game go by or didn't even notice it because it did seem to vanish very quickly. Maybe there were bigger games out around the time. I can't remember. It's from 2024. But if you slept on this game or you just didn't think it was going to really be that good, I'm going to tell you, at least for me, This game was spectacular. So Star Wars Outlaws, it's generally pretty cheap right now. If this is a game that you kind of thought about but just never got around to, and you feel like some of that old vintage Star Wars feel and you want that back and you enjoy being in that, then I could not recommend it highly enough. It is really just a fun game to play that recaptures what makes Star Wars great. Later.